And I'll now ask Sara Zwart and Karen Wilson to come to the stage. Karen is of Tiaka, Tai, Waihua and Ngāti Tiata and Ngāti Pikiao descent. Excuse my pronunciation. Karen has a range of skills and experience garnered through many years with the New Zealand Police Department and latterly as a senior officer. She has held roles with Te Papa Foundation, Auckland Conservation Board and recently completed a 3-year term with Tupuna Maunga o Tamaki Makaurau Authority. Suffice it to say, Karen's influence and guidance spans a range of areas. Sara is Principal Regenerative Design Lead at Panuku Development Auckland, and this is the council-controlled organisation that delivers urban regeneration across Tamaki Makaurau, boasting over 20 years of experience in architecture, landscape architecture and urban design. Welcome, and over to you, Karen and Sara.
Tēnā koutou e te rōpu NZILA, me te whakahaere korenei. Ko wai au. Ko kaiwhare te taniwha, ko te mānuka te waiora, ko te akitai waiohua te iwi, pukaki te marae, Karen Wilson tōku wingoa, ko te tumuaki o te akitai waiohua Settlement Trust. Anei, tōku hoa no te rōpu eke pānuku ko Sara Zwart.
Ko ingarangi me hōrana te whakapaparanga mai, engari ko te waipōnamu te whenua tupu, me raki pai whenua te kāinga anai anei. He kai whakaawaha tai no eki panukua hau ko Sara Zwart tuku no. Thank you.
Nō reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai anō tātou katoa. I'm going to make a start, but I just wanted to say, I feel good here. I feel welcomed here, and the nervousness has gone, and it's a shame that I missed most of the presentations. Auckland, or Tāmaki Makaurau, meaning desired by all. That is still the case for mana whenua to this day in this sought-after place. No matter the obstacles of legal ownership in these times for us, the land still is ours, will always be considered ours, and the principles of kaitiakitanga holds and bestows upon us the obligations to hold fast to that. How difficult it is in this space, this time, this place, for mana whenua to express and be understood, and the lens we have and will continue to have regardless. So time has taught us to be patient. Well, not so patient these days probably, but we acknowledge that we have our host responsibilities that binds us to the land, and as host we have certain obligations for all those residents working or at play and tending to their lives as whānau. We hope they too will share our learnings and see things through our eyes as we attempt to respond to the needs of the Puhinui as it continues its journey to the Manukau Harbour, winding its way through local communities and becoming an integral part of how they see themselves and what part they can play now and into the future. Can I just encourage you all to read, if you haven't already, the findings of the Waitangi Tribunal on the Manukau claim, known as Y8. In the matter of a claim brought by Dame Whaia Ngāneko Minhinik and the Puaha ki Mānuka. It concerns the Manukau Harbour and its environs. It's personal for me, make no bones about that at all, as the chair of Te Akitai Waiohua. Y8, in my little wee copy, is a 134-page document, but the only part I want to make reference to here is recommendation 5 that was made in these findings, as the wero, or the challenge, or the tohu of how we all, by our own actions and intent, commit to that recommendation alongside all others, including the wider community that are part of Te Whakaoranga or Te Puhinui. Recommendation 5, and there's 15 of them, and this is the most significant claim of Tāmaki Makaurau, says this: to the Ministers of Māori Affairs and Environment, that Manukau guardians be appointed to provide a Māori and an environmental overview of the harbour and a Māori overview of the environs, and to restore the mana Māori in both. It subsequently goes on to say, past wrongs can be put right in a proactive way, practical way, and it is not too late to begin again. I like to think that in saying, as part of the findings, to provide a Māori environmental overview and guardians, that is what we do today as mana whenua. We are the kaitiaki, we are the guardians. My view of the world is that was intended to formalise for those that aren't Māori. That is the place we will play, and that is the place, the role that should be supported. Can I just continue this hikoi by seeing through the eyes of one of our Māori lead advisors that we recommended as mana whenua to Eke Pānuku, who subsequently took this person to lead out this project that we're both involved in. And she was appointed to work on behalf of the chairs of Te Waiora and Eke Pānuku. Now her name, and she'll really hate me for saying this, is Tuia Taylor, no Ngāti Tiata. And she won't thank me one bit for mentioning this, but I want to read out a piece of work that she produced to help me in my kōrero. So what I was intending to do originally was just read this piece. But in thinking about coming here, I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. So I acknowledge absolutely this piece that I will be reading out shortly. Let me tell you the work that she needs to put in, as well as Eke Pānuku, to try and get, there's 19 acknowledged by Auckland Council mana whenua Tāmaki Makaurau. That's not including the definition of what the Crown says there are. So to try and get iwi chairs in an environment, and 3 different ones on this occasion for Te Whakaoranga o Te Puhinui, to agree on anything in one space, one place, and the pūrākau or whakapapa is just not an easy feat. Some of you may already have been aware of that. But we got there. That's the upside. And here we stand before you today. Te Whakaoranga o Te Puhinui is a first in that sense, and I can attest to that. We give thanks and acknowledgement to those mana whenua iwi who asked us to take the lead in this very fraught space, and for my fellow whanaunga iwi chairs who continue to respond in the way they have to get us to this point. So I'm going to describe this piece that I'm going to read out that isn't my piece, from her mind to ours, from her generation to those of us that are presenting that are not that same generation. And it reads to the subject of our presentation, which is Te Whakaoranga o Te Puhinui, Tinorangatiratanga in action. Ka mua ka muri. This whakatauki encapsulates binding the depths of 2 worlds, 2 concepts of time, to ensure the pathway forward is clear. To create a future we want to live in, we must take lessons and guidance from the past. For Aotearoa, this needs to be through mātauranga Māori. Our current political and economic systems are not bringing oranga or health to us as tangata or to the taiao, the environment we should be serving. The most meaningful action we can take is to find new, more impactful ways of working in partnership to reconnect and rebind ourselves in a reciprocal relationship with the land. Through deep whakapapa connections, mana whenua have the wisdom to tap into the knowledge that sits in our whenua. This was the starting point for Te Whakaoranga o Te Puhinui, with Waiora iwi leading the regeneration of this tupuna awa, our ancestral river. Te Whakaoranga o Te Puhinui, to us, is a flagship strategy to regenerate the whakapapa of a deeply degraded catchment in South Auckland. Tangata, the people; whenua, the land and space; me taiao, the environment. It uses a living system and whakapapa-centred wellbeing approach that integrates ecological design concepts with mātauranga Māori, tikanga, frameworks and values. Through the leadership of Te Waiohua Iwi, we hope this project can be an example of meaningful partnerships, supporting councils and other organisations to honour Tinorangatiratanga of mana whenua in their own rohe. Ultimately forging new ways of working together for the betterment of our environment, enabling us to move towards a regenerative future. I hope you all agree that's a beautiful, heartfelt and poignant kōrero that is not of mine, but I have to acknowledge it. What we're going to do now, so we're very pedantic about sticking to the time, as we should be. You people have been here for a long time. We're going to take a break now from me talking and watch a very short video. It's just over 3 minutes, which brings together the knuckle, the essence, the core of the kōrero we provided as Te Waiohua leaders, and allow these navigators, all of them, including Lucy sitting right in front of me, from iwi and Eke Pānuku, to draw them together and provide, hopefully, our own view of how to and lessons learned. After that will be followed by Sara, who's worked with all the component parts of Te Whakaoranga o Te Puhinui. And I would have to say this: she lives, she breathes the ethos and principles with fierce determination and passion. She must be Māori. Who could ask for more? Kia ora, Sara.
Transform Manukau is one of Pānuku's key locations in Auckland. It's been recognised as a centre for urban growth, and as part of that we created a framework plan to help guide the way that growth would happen. And in that framework plan, the restoration of the Puhinui stream was identified as one of the key moves. The idea of kaitiakitanga has been incredibly important since the inception of a project. We've always recognised the role that mana whenua play as kaitiaki of Te Puhinui and wanted to start the project with alongside them to develop a vision.
Ko matukutere te maunga, ko te Puhinui te awa, ko te manukunuku ho te roa, te waiora ko Ngāti Tiata, Waiohua te iwi, ko Whāni Freeland tōku ingoa. Te Whakaoranga i te Puhinui is the name of our program, and it's anchored in those relationships between people, place and nature. The challenge, the wero that mana whenua lei, and these are our mana whenua whanaunga from across Tāmaki Makaurau, challenge Pānuku to really lift out of consultation and engagement mode and really explore collaborative partnering in a real meaningful level. I think one of the challenges, which is the exciting thing, is bringing together a number of partners. Our 3 mana whenua iwi of Te Waiohua are working together alongside our 2 local boards, Auckland Council, Pānuku and our community alongside central government agencies. So one of those challenges is how do you start to bring together those diverse views and perspectives. Our first critical step from a Waiohua perspective was that we actually formed and laid a kaupapa document, which really articulating a vision, affirming some values and guiding principles to act as a compass, if you like. We were able to then develop a charter, and that charter becomes a shared commitment by everyone, and it creates that point of visibility in how we want to navigate forward. So when we talk about people, place and nature, taiao, tangata and whenua, it really represents their holistic systems view of whakapapa-centred wellbeing. So rather than approaching it as a stream restoration type project or a community development type project, we've brought those elements together, recognising the water cycle within the Puhinui catchment. So catchment place-based approach. I'd like to see a mana whenua anchored pathway which are led by our community and our local families of the catchment.
Pānuku's Governance Forum allows us to have really important foundational conversations with the chairs of the local iwi, and it's an incredible privilege to be working at that level in the iwi with them to establish the foundations from the outset, and then expanding that up to a sense of tiakitanga, which means the wider community is also involved in restoring Puhinui.
What's really exciting at the moment, whether it's climate action, COVID, poverty, inequity, what we're seeing not only in Aotearoa but around the world is a broader shift from Western square, extractive, patriarchal sort of individualism type systems more into regenerative sort of circular thinking, and it's really focused on how we restore the relationship, partnership between humanity and nature.
Te Tēnā koe, Karen, mō tō whakaro, me tō tōtoko ki tēnei kaupapa. I just firstly want to say what an absolute privilege and honour it has been to work alongside Karen and have her support over the last 5 years, and to be up here presenting next to you is an honour. I've got a couple of other acknowledgements before I dive into a bit more detail about the kaupapa itself. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge, as the Ihi Panuku project lead, I haven't done this alone. I have always had at my side a mana whenua co-navigator. Through the life of that project, that role has been played by Lucy Tukwa. Thanks for being here, Lucy. Johnny Freeland, who you saw on the video, and Tuia Taylor, whose words you heard. So I'm really glad they're all represented here today and in this photo. I'd also really like to acknowledge Resilio Studios and the incredible work they did as the landscape architects that pulled this all together into a comprehensive and impressive strategy. You'll see some of their amazing images in the slides following. And finally, as Johnny mentioned in the presentation, the photo in front of you is in fact the program steering group, and just acknowledging Hannah's talk about how political this space is. These are all the people that have governance leadership over this rohi and had influence, and we knew that we couldn't go anywhere without them at our side. So this particular image, again, has the 2 local boards, 3 iwi, multiple council departments, Ihi Panuku and Kāinga Ora represented here. Just briefly, a bit of context for the out-of-towners. Te Puhinui catchment is a significant catchment, 3,000 hectares in South Auckland. It drains to Manukanuku o Aotearoa, or the Manukau Harbour watershed. The Awa itself is a 12.5 kilometre long, highly degraded urban waterway. The waterway itself spans from the Totara Park in the east, through the Botanic Garden, central Manukau, and out to the Manukau Harbour in the west. As mentioned in the video, Whakaoranga o Te Puhinui was key move one of Ihi Panuku's Transform Manukau program. The program is represented by what's affectionately known as the white t-shirt in the middle of that image. But from the outset, mana whenua laughed at us and said, "Don't be so ridiculous, you can't restore a stream in a box." And they gifted us the concept of mai ngā mounga ki te moana, or from the mountains to the sea. And that was an amazing way of us reshaping our mandate and what we needed to do, and it guided us to think and behave more holistically in our approach. I'm pretty sure this is a big room of landscape architects, the biggest I've ever seen. I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to the converted here, but I know you all believe in holistic design, and I know you all believe in the importance of partnering with mana whenua. But this is the reality of what we were asking them to partner with, mana whenua who are already at capacity. This particular image was from one of the first workshops, I think Lucy led it with me, that we led out in Manukau, where we pulled all the Crown Council and community agencies that were active in the catchment into a room and asked them what they already had planned, underway, or aspirational in the catchment. And as you can see from this image, there was a huge amount of investment and energy going into this catchment. However, it wasn't happening in alignment, and it was largely being done in silos. Sorry. It also wasn't creating the systemic change that we all knew needed to happen. So the first step we did at this point was Whakaoranga, of the very simple step of coming into relationship with each other. And this enabled us to develop a far deeper understanding of this place as we could learn from each other and learn from the work we were doing. It also enabled us to get our own house in order before we could expect or anticipate meaningful partnership from mana whenua. That said, in parallel to this work we were doing internally, we had begun conversations with Waiahua to try and understand what a whakapapa-centred wellbeing approach meant for them. And as Johnny mentioned in the video, what emerged was the 3 aho, or key strands of tangata, whenua and taio, and the health of them being critical. As we've heard already today, there's a very simple tenet that without healthy land, you cannot have healthy people. This seems like a simple framing, but it was incredibly effective by showing and describing these things as inextricably linked. It forced us to collaborate, it forced us to think outside our silos as we move this project forward. So as this is our underpinning and our foundations, what we needed was a strategy that was capable of navigating an uncertain and constantly changing future. We turned to Pacific navigation as both a metaphor and a tool and methodology to move us forward. So we created a regenerative map, thinking 3 generations forward each time, very much in keeping with the theme of this conference, ka mua ka muri. We needed to look back, deeply understand the past, understand the present, before we could map the near future, distant future, and ultimately always being guided by te Pairangi, or the stars beyond the horizon, which became our North Star, and that was our vision and purpose for this program, with the ultimate goal of moving from a state of mauri noho, or ill health, to a state of mauri ora, well-being. So armed with a map, as Johnny said, we also needed a compass.
and we created the program Te Whakaoranga o Te Puhinui Charter. This was led by Waiahua, but it was co-developed with the multiple partners we've talked about today. It sets out a clear and shared purpose, values and principles to guide our action moving forward, and forms a key foundation for partnership and collaboration that will allow us to move forward with confidence. However, and I'm stealing this quote from someone else, you can only ever move at the pace of trust. And the key thing with the creation of this was it did take months, and it took many, many more months to write and many, many more months to sign, no thanks to COVID, was that it allowed us, again, whakawhanaungatanga, and to come into relationship with all the people that were part of this puzzle. As you can see in the vision statement there, success requires a collective effort. So we've got a compass, we've got a map, we're doing well, we just need a crew. From the outset, or komoana, from the outset of this project, there was the intent and aspiration to always engage where possible, local and if possible, mana whenua or Māori practitioners to work alongside us. This particular image is from a wānanga I keep dropping my pens. From a wānanga about a month ago, and at that time I looked at the project team and the people we had engaged to work with us, and I realised, for a start, I'm the only tangata tiriti in that room, but 90% of the consultants working on this project were either mana whenua or Māori, and as a result, deeply invested in both this place and the outcomes of this kaupapa. So we've got our map, we've got our compass, we've got a true, we've got a strategy that's inherently flexible. I'm talking to a room full of landscape architects, and it'd be rude not to show you a plan. This particular plan is Te Pai Tata, or the near horizon, and the idea of this plan is it shows a coordinated 10-year work program for the catchment. It's focused specifically on the central Manukau area. Hopefully you might be able to spot Hayman Park in the top just to orientate yourself. Just find my spot. Within this plan is multiple projects to be led over multiple years by multiple agencies. It includes new parks and wetlands, stream naturalisation, dechannelization, walkways, cycleways, playground, art. Some of these are underway, many of them are in planning at the moment. However, what we understood from the outset of this project that systemic change requires more than just built works. Just building green infrastructure doesn't mean that people will lead greener lives. So in parallel to the development of this capital works plan, we also developed 15 rautaki, or strategic initiatives. Again, we frame these around the three aho of tangata whenua and taio. The intent of these initiatives is not that they're all led by us, but rather they're led by multiple agencies over time. Some are underway and some are aspirational. But by mapping them out together and showing their interrelationships, I affectionately call this the ball of twine diagram, we can show the level of collaboration that's required. Also, by mapping these out, we were able to enable Waiahua to choose where within this complex system of strategic initiatives they wish to lead, where they wish to support, and where they wish to help navigate. All of this obviously being guided by that kaupapa document and the charter. It's worth noting that one of the strategic initiatives themselves is in fact to create a Waiahua-led regeneration agency, ultimately seeking to have Eki Panuku biodegrade out of this process and for this to be fully led by iwi in future. So in summary, yes, I'm over time, so I will get to summary. It's pretty evident from this image that we need to find better ways of working together. The living systems here are unwell. Tangata whenua me taio are not thriving. Our current political and economic systems are not serving us. However, kamuri, we can easily take inspiration from this catchment. This particular image is actually taken less than a kilometre away from the previous one, and it's an image of the stream as it passes through the Botanic Gardens. It gives us inspiration because it shows us what a healthy and flourishing living system can look like. I'm not proposing that Central Manukau is going to look like this anytime soon, but what we need to do as landscape architects is take this as inspiration and translate this into what it could mean for a modern and urban setting. However, as we do this, we need to constantly keep these guys in mind. This is Tamariki from the local Wiri Central School, and we led a co-design project with them for over a year. And a little shout out to Ainsley, who's in that photo and supported us in that project. So at the same time as empowering mana whenua to fulfil their role as kaitiaki, we were consciously and continue to consciously build a sense of tiakitanga or guardianship within the local communities. So to end with a quote from Lucy Tukua, the project was very consciously place-sourced, culture-led and community-fed. I think we're in and we've heard it multiple times over yesterday and today, we're in an incredibly unique position in Aotearoa through our relationship with mana whenua and the intrinsic deep knowledge of place that they hold and an understanding of a whakapapa mindset. we've got the ability to do this better than anywhere else in the world. However, true partnership takes time, commitment and respect. It requires all of us to learn to listen deeply, and in particular, know when to let go of the reins and hand them over. Ultimately, we've all been trained to plan and design, so this hasn't always been easy. But I just want to acknowledge something Catherine said in her fellowship speech yet. I think we need to shift from thinking of ourselves as planners and designers to integrators and collaborators. This is the job required to enable true oranga tangata, oranga whenua, and oranga taio, health of people, place and nature. Thank you.